Hey guys, it's Sean. Welcome back. In this episode, with popular demand, he's back, Ryan Self, and we're going to be talking about AI, fraud, what is real out there anymore. Come on, let's dive in. We're back with Off the Cuff, and we can't get enough of him, Ryan Self.
Can't get enough off the cuff. Here's some stuff.
That's right. Ryan, welcome back.
Thanks. It's a brand new day. This is why I'm still wearing the exact same shirt. And
me too.
Yeah, no. Let's continue this awesome conversation.
Have you played around with this idea of, like, the advancement of AI is nutty to where, Ryan, you could, as a writer and even as an actor, you can preload, whether it's ChatGPT or it's the next wave of AI, actually load up your own film. And there are, like, we're so close already where it's happening, where you're like, hey, I prompted this today. Let's watch it. Tell me your thoughts.
Yeah.
Right? To where that becomes this new form of streaming, where it's like, hey, kids, gather around. Dad just made an animated cartoon starring you.
Sure.
Right? Grayson, you're the star, and Chuckles the squirrel. You guys go on this crazy adventure to the zoo. It's going to be nutty. Have you ever ridden a panda? Well, let's watch it. You know.
I mean, the joke of a squirrel and it's going to be nutty. I don't know if an AI can write that, though. I played around with, do you know Midjourney?
Yeah.
I played around with it for the first time last week. I was actually crafting this pitch for for this graphic novel, and it's all sci-fi, and specifically there are AI. They're essentially robots are the main characters. I'm like, oh, it makes sense. I should use an AI thing.
Totally.
And the prompts that I was giving it, like, it was the simplest stuff, and it was like, yeah, kind of something like this. And what it would come out with was mind-blowingly good.
Beautiful. Like
beautiful. And perfect for, like, oh yeah, this is exactly what. And
in seconds.
In seconds, and you do have to. There has to be some sort of intelligence guiding it.
Yes.
For sure.
It's all about the prompt, right?
Yes. So you do I don't think we'll ever get to a point where you don't need an engineer or whatever you want to call it, guiding the ship, a captain. But the results, I would have, if I had wanted a couple of those images, I would have had to hire an artist, and it would have taken them weeks, maybe even like a month to come up with those images. And it was, like you said, seconds. Right. So the implications of that upon any creative field are self-evident.
I'm curious. Like I love, like, talking about AI and is it going to be our demise, or is it an incredible tool? We often talk about, like, it's like everyone has access to Excalibur, but not everyone knows how to wield it.
Sure.
You know, like, they can pull the sword from the stone, but they don't know how to use it.
Yes.
So,
and I mean, that's a rewound parallel to that would be just phones on your cameras on your cell phone.
Sure. The internet.
Suddenly, just overnight, we're given, like, the highest quality cameras, and everyone could become amateur photographers.
Right.
But there are still professional photographers. Like,
right.
You know,
right.
Yeah. So I think it's going to be like that. That being said, it will be transformative for all creative fields, for almost all fields in general. I mean, I know the creative fields just because that's the world that I live in, but I guarantee any job that whoever's listening right now has, they can think like, I guess, on a long enough timeline, I could see how my job would completely change if I could blankety blank.
No, because I think that's part of our charge as humans is to create, is to show up and to multiply in our skill, in our labor, and bringing, like, having families and bringing children into the world. You know, like, I think that's part of our part of our charge is creation.
Sure.
And
I was going to say, to add on to my own thought, as technology grows, there is always I feel like there's always been a fear that you're going to get replaced.
Yeah.
And I think what tends to actually happen is that you just have to adapt to what you're contributing, and you use it as a tool.
That's
so
right.
like, I'm trying to think of a perfect example of it. But
I feel like I might have one for you.
Yes.
So when the car first came out,
Yes.
if you were to ask anybody, no one was interested in a car. They just wanted a faster horse, right? And when the car became popular, it put out thousands of people out of work who were their sole job was cleaning up after the horses.
Wow.
And their jobs were made obsolete. But guess what? Those guys went from cleaning up horse manure to go do something else, to where they maybe used a car to now go and haul people's trash from their house to wherever.
Yeah.
So I do think that if you are creative, you'll find another way, whether it is using AI. I know some people are like, dude, I'm not touching it.
Sure.
I'm not, and then here's the thing, it's here. So if it's Pandora's box, it's been opened.
Yeah.
So now what do we do that it is? Do we use it to help us in creating a new film or a new comic book or whatever, or or do we just go, no, this is a fad that's going to die away? I don't think it is a fad. I don't think it's going to die away.
No. And I think that for writing, I would be happy to, if it got to where it was usable, if I could use it as a tool to be like, all right, I've got this whole scene. I know exactly what it needs. Like, I mean, when you're writing, you come up with like, okay, here's where the characters are at. Here's where they need to be at by the end of the scene. Here's the dramatic tension.
Right.
Usually you create an outline with all of that, and it's not until like, weeks and weeks of like working on the outline, then finally like, I'm actually going to write the scene, write the dialogue. If on that day that I'm like normally going to spend a whole day writing dialogue, I could be like, dialogue, okay, redo, tweak that. Okay, I'm done. That's pretty cool.
It is pretty cool.
Yeah.
So I guess the question is, just to almost full circle back, as writers are on strike and SAG's on strike, and we're literally in the middle of this AI revolution that's only getting better. I don't think it's going to upturn. I don't think it's not going to like make people obsolete. I think what it's going to do is it's going to cause people to get even more creative and to learn how to use this to further your own work.
Yes.
Like if I was a company and I'm like, oh, I could fire everybody and just have one person who's creating prompts. Well, what if you kept everybody and you just had them multiply their abilities? I don't know.
We are currently coal miners in Pennsylvania, and new renewable energy sources are happening. Where it's like, hey, do we adapt or do we do we stick in the coal mine, or do we come out and become Billy Elliots? And so I don't know.
We're creating a mashup already. That's wild. So, what would you? Let's say you got a person just moved to LA. Yeah. They moved down from Indiana or wherever, somewhere in the Midwest. Yep. And they moved to town. They finally get plugged in. Maybe they got cast in something, and then the strike happens. Yeah. If you were that person, what advice might you give to this person from like, dude, just ride out the storm, get creative, go back home.
Get out while you can.
Get out while you can.
It's tough because I've met several people now that have moved to LA during the pandemic, and it's like, wow, you sweet summer child, you know nothing. So same with this, where there's always something happening. To be fair, but yeah, in the past like 4 years, it's been some of the most disruptive stuff I've ever seen. I've been in LA since 2005, so 20. Be like. Oh yeah, you were the guy. You were the guy who just moved to LA, and then the writer strike happened 3 years later. Right when I was trying to think how long I've been here, and I can't do simple math. 13 years? No.
Mm-hmm. No, more than that.
No, 18 years. 18 years. That's crazy. So I've seen a lot of the ups and downs. And I think for anyone that comes during this time, I would actually be like, you know what? Great. It can only go up. If you're able to, like, if you booked a role, or if you came out and you're like, you found some sort of job to kind of like make it through, you're going to be fine. Because if you can survive this, you can survive anything. If you haven't and you're struggling and it's like, I don't know, man, like, should I be here or not? I've seen so many people give up and go home. So many people. Or just, not even giving up, but just realizing this is not like, I thought this was a passion, but then when I see what it is because the reality of especially acting, the reality of what acting is so far from the romanticized version of acting. Actually, strike that. Same with writing. There is a romanticized version of writing where you're sitting in a coffee shop creating the next great, like, that never happens.
A producer walks in and is like, there's something about you in the way you're drinking that cup of coffee.
Yeah. It is slamming your head against a keyboard. For hours at a time, spending weeks and months, like, realizing that no one cares about what you wrote, and then starting over a new one. And with acting, it's auditioning. It is just audition after audition after audition, and just no after no. Yeah, constant. Yeah. And then 1 out of 100, you'll have someone be like, "You are great," right. And then it might be a job where they'll be like, "You are great. You're on hold right now. You're on a veil. We went with the other guy.
I know.
But you got second place. Oh, cool. What does second place get me? Nothing." You're back to start.
Not even a medal?
When you do book a job, once the job ends and you get that paycheck, you're like, oh, this is great. What next?
So funny.
Nothing. It's the same. You're just back to auditioning. So if you don't love auditioning, if you can't endure all the no's, I say don't bother, because it's never going to not be that.
Right.
Like,
dude, you're speaking to me, because I lived in LA for 7 years or something like that when we were buddies doing Soda Jerk, doing improv. And then my path led me to Idaho, and I was doing acting still here. But just last week, I sent in a video audition, and I knew the producer, so I texted them, be like, hey, just checking in to see how things were going, because I'm going to be in that. It was like they were filming in another city, and I was like, I'm going to be in that city. Yeah. And they're like, well, they're looking at somebody else, but you're second. Like, you're next in line, I think, is what the language she said. So it's like, oh, but you never know. Doing these comedy specials that they're in editing right now. And I have no idea how they're going to, when they're released, how if it's going to become anything, or if it's going to become everything. You don't know. You just got to keep doing you and having fun and putting it out there, like auditioning, putting yourself out there, and being okay with a no, being okay with you. Yes. It is so critical to not tie your sense of importance and value into what someone else is going to say about you, because 100%. That's just disaster guaranteed. Absolutely. Yeah. It's there's some artists that we go, do you like my art? Yeah, this is good. Oh, my art's good. I'm good. Yes. Right. And then, do you like my art? I'm not into it. Oh, my art's bad. I'm bad. Yes. It's like, if you do that to yourself, if you're just creating for validation, you're going to be in a world of hurt. But to your unfortunately, point, I think that is why most people get into art, is because they at some point got some sort of validation and it felt good. Or they lived in a world where they got almost no validation anywhere, lived in a family where their parents never said they love them, or whatever it is, create the sob story. And then they dove into something where they could get validation, and that felt good. And so a lot of artists, that is their origin story. And I feel like that's unfortunate, because that means
a lot of artists end up trapped in this abusive cycle of like needing validation, and the people who I feel like are transformative artists that can continue doing it for a life and be healthy, figure out how to change from needing that validation to just enjoying it, but getting validation from something else. And that's, I don't know anyone that I can think of that hasn't, that is like healthy and happy right now, that hasn't had to come to that realization themselves and change kind of their mode of operation. They're like their default. And so to that end, circling back to your original question, if you're someone who has moved out to LA and you're like, oh man, this sucks, this is hard out here. If you are able to find joy in this time in doing what you're doing, you're going to be fine. That's great. And if you don't, then take a hard look at why you're doing it. Do you need to get that role to feel like you are a real human being? Well, guess what? It's, even if you do get the role, you're not going to feel it. So now is a great time to have some self-reflection. Congrats.
Yeah, dude. It's you got to discover who you are, what you're made for, what your purpose is, and life's going to knock you down. So if you can enjoy the process of discovering who you are, enjoy creating. If other people love it, great. If they don't, great. Yeah.
There's a weird catch-22 about acting that I had this kind of epiphany a while back, where I used to work so hard at auditions, and it meant everything because I wanted it so badly. And I felt like it kind of showed. You seeing it from like many years of experience, and now seeing it from the other side, like I've been in the casting room now and been like, oh, okay, I can see that desperation, and it doesn't look great. Where you're like, oh man, they really want that. And then I started booking a lot more when I had that, you know what, it's just another audition. And a lot of actors be like, once you get cynical, you'll start booking. And I think there's some truth to that. The more optimistic version of that is, it's not cynicism. It's you just don't need it.
Yeah.
You don't
the pressure's
need it
off
for your own validation. But the flip side of that is, when I booked a role that I got when I was during that time, it was the most high of highs. It's kind of like your first crush. Like that feeling of crushing feels so good. Whereas like I've been married for almost 10 years now, and I absolutely love it, would have nothing else. But there is still that like, oh man, I like that feeling of like excited elation.
And as you were talking, I was reminded of the fact when Colleen and I, my wife, first started Recycled Minds Comedy and teaching classes and doing shows, whenever we got a check that was like from a show that we did or a corporate training, we decided to do this thing that whenever a check would come in from our work of creativity, we would just be like, we just do this like little dance together in the kitchen. and it became a thing that we did. And over the years, we got this venue, and we have like renters in this venue. And so it's just become a normal thing.
Yeah.
To where we stop dancing because it's coming in on the normal reg.
Never stop dancing. You need to write
never
a book.
Stop
Never stop dancing.
So here's the really cool thing that happened just this week.
Yeah.
2 days ago, we open up a drawer. We have like a drawer. I probably shouldn't. We have a place.
What's in your drawer?
We have a place that like people who rent from us, they put checks.
Okay.
Right.
And the code to get in is
the code is 99. I probably shouldn't say. I probably shouldn't. So, but there's a place where they put checks for us, and we went in, and it was like thousands of dollars more than normal because there's been an influx of different things going on.
Oh, wow.
And so Colleen was like, Sean, and we just went back to dancing.
Good.
and so I guess the moral of the story is, don't get so like caught like so lackadaisical that you lose your wonder and your gratitude.
Yeah.
Because every day, dude, we're sucking air. I mean, you're going through COVID. Mm-hmm. You're literally here. You're literally sucking air. But and studies have shown like just being grateful can change your mindset, can change how you respond to other people. Doors open to you because they see like there's something about you just because you're grateful. So we learned a lot today.
Yeah, we did. I learned a thing today.
We learned a thing. Not everything is great. Sometimes things go on strike.
Yep.
Including your income.
Yep.
And you have to respond. You have to show up. You still have to be you.
Yeah.
You still have to be the man or the woman that you're designed to be and be everything you've got for the people around you. Because we are the ones that are, we are the world. We're the people that are the ones that are going to transform the world around us. Yeah. We're the ones that provide for our family. We're the ones that are fighting to make this space better. Like I got kids, man. I can't, as David Magadoff said, I'd never heard this before. He said the babies bring the bread.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I'd never heard that term before. Have you heard it?
I only heard it from you last time you mentioned it because you just can't stop talking about Magadoff.
Sorry.
You just love that Magadoff.
It's you guys are always on my mind. So.
Aw, thank you.
The people that transform my life are always on my mind. So,
which full circle, that's what we're aiming to do, is to transform our own lives and the lives around us.
That's right. That's right. 100%. Yeah. Cool. Well, hey, I got to say thank you to those of you. Thanks for joining us here on Off the Cuff. Ryan and I had a blast. Ryan, thank you so much for your time and your talent and for being here with us. And bro, nothing but the absolute best as you're in the middle of these the double strike, as it were.
Double strike.
And I hope that on the other side of this, that things are just multiplied for you, brother.
Well, thank you so much. Appreciate it. Thanks for having me. It's always a joy to get to talk to you, and then to do it in a sterile podcast setting just makes it that much better.
We probably could just talk to each other more on the phone, but this is great.
Oh, awesome. So good to see you. So good to talk to you.
Good to see you too, man. And give my best to Katie. I should reach out to her. I might have to talk to her about doing a voiceover for a thing. So
awesome. Well, thank you much, brother.
Yeah.
All right. Take care.
Talk to you later.
Bye.